continent under the iron grip of colonial rule, its people yearning for freedom but bound by centuries of oppression. Now imagine one man, driven by vision, ambition, and unshakable resolve, rising to challenge the world's greatest empire at the time. This is the story of Simón Bolivar, the liberator of South America and his extraordinary fight for independence. Simón Bolivar was born on July 24, 1783 in Caracas, Venezuela, which was then part of the Spanish Empire. He came from an elite Creole family of wealth and influence. His parents, Don Juan Vicente Bolívar y Ponte and Doña María de la Concepción Palacios y Blanco, were part of the aristocracy and owned vast estates, including plantations worked by enslaved people. Tragedy struck early in Bolívar's life. His father died when he was just 3, and his mother passed away when he was 9. Orphaned at a young age, Bolívar was placed under the care of relatives and tutors. Among his most influential early mentors was Simón Rodríguez, a philosopher and educator who instilled in Bolívar ideas of liberty, Enlightenment principles, and a passion for social reform. Bolívar's privileged upbringing exposed him to both the comforts of wealth and the injustices of colonial rule, shaping his worldview and setting the stage for his later revolutionary endeavors. His early education and travels to Europe as a young man broadened his perspective and inspired his determination to fight for independence. Simón Bolívar's journey toward becoming the liberator began with a mix of personal tragedy, intellectual growth, and political awakening. After inheriting his family's fortune, Bolívar traveled to Europe in 1799, where he was exposed to Enlightenment ideas and revolutionary movements. While in Paris, he witnessed the lingering effects of the French Revolution and the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. Bolívar admired Napoleon's ability to reshape a nation, but his eventual turn to tyranny left Bolívar disillusioned, fueling his belief in true republican ideals. A pivotal moment came during a visit to Rome in 1805, where Bolívar, standing on Monte Sacro, reportedly took a solemn vow to dedicate his life to liberating South America from Spanish rule. This promise was deeply influenced by his mentor, Simón Rodríguez, who we mentioned earlier, had taught him about the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Back in Venezuela, Bolívar saw firsthand the discontent brewing among the Creole elite and the broader population under Spanish colonial oppression. The Napoleonic invasion of Spain in 1808 further destabilized the empire, creating an opportunity for independence movements across Latin America. Bolívar became convinced that South America could no longer rely on Spain for governance, and that true freedom could only be achieved through revolutionary action. The combination of Enlightenment ideals, the influence of global revolutions, and the political chaos in Europe ignited Bolívar's ambition to liberate not just his homeland, but the entire continent. From this point, Bolívar began to transform his ideals into action, joining the growing independence movement and laying the foundation for his extraordinary campaign of liberation. The Venezuelan War of Independence began in 1810, following the Napoleonic invasion of Spain, as mentioned earlier, which destabilized Spanish authority in its colonies. Inspired by the revolutionary fervor sweeping Europe and the Americas, the Venezuelan Creole elite, including Bolívar, saw an opportunity to push for autonomy. On April 19, 1810, a revolutionary junta was established in Caracas, marking the first significant step toward independence. Bolívar quickly became an active member of the movement, working alongside leaders like Francisco de Miranda, an earlier revolutionary figure. In 1811, the first Venezuelan republic was declared, with Bolívar delivering passionate speeches urging his countrymen to embrace liberty and reject Spanish rule. However, internal divisions and a lack of resources plagued the fledgling republic. In 1812, disaster struck when royalist forces, led by Spanish loyalists, launched a counteroffensive. The republic's forces, poorly coordinated and undermined by rivalries, suffered defeats. Compounding this, a massive earthquake in March 1812 devastated Caracas and other cities, which many interpreted as a divine punishment for rebelling against Spain. The First Republic collapsed later that year, and Bolivar fled to New Granada, modern-day Colombia. During the collapse of the First Venezuelan Republic, Miranda negotiated a surrender to Spanish forces after a series of defeats. Bolivar and other revolutionaries saw this as a betrayal of the independence cause. Bolivar even participated in Miranda's arrest, handing him over to the Spanish, where he was imprisoned until his death. Determined to reignite the revolution, Bolivar wrote his famous Cartagena Manifesto in 1812. Analyzing the failures of the First Republic and calling for stronger leadership and unity among the revolutionaries. Armed with new Grenadian support, Bolivar launched the admirable campaign in 1813, a bold military effort that saw him retake Caracas and declare the Second Venezuelan Republic. It was during this campaign that Bolivar earned the title El Libertador, the Liberator. However, the early revolution faced relentless challenges. The Royalists, supported by Spanish reinforcements, regrouped, while Bolivar's forces contended with guerrilla warfare led by José Tomás Bofs, a brutal royalist leader who rallied the disenfranchised masses. By 1814, Bolívar was again forced into exile as the Second Republic collapsed under these pressures. The early revolution was defined by these cycles of hope and defeat, with Bolivar learning critical lessons about the need for broader support across all social classes and the importance of strategic alliances. These hard-earned insights would shape his later campaigns and bring him closer to his ultimate vision of independence. The middle phase of the revolution, spanning roughly 1815 to 1819, marked a turning point as Bolivar refined his strategy and secured vital resources to continue the fight for independence. However, in 1815, Bolivar faced one of his darkest moments. After the collapse of the Second Venezuelan Republic, he went into exile in Jamaica. There, he penned the Letter from Jamaica, a visionary document outlining his hopes for a unified, independent South America and calling on foreign powers to support the cause of liberation. Though Bolivar's plea was largely ignored by European nations, it solidified his role as a leader with a continental vision. Bolivar then sought assistance from Haiti, where President Alexandre Pétion offered crucial aid, including weapons, supplies, and troops. In return, Bolivar promised to abolish slavery in the territories he liberated, a revolutionary move that would later help rally enslaved and marginalized populations to his cause. With Haitian support, Bolivar launched renewed campaigns, landing in Venezuela in 1816 and slowly rebuilding the revolutionary forces. By 1817, Bolivar began to see military successes. He established a base of operations in the Llanos, the vast plains of Venezuela, where he allied with legendary guerrilla leaders like José Antonio Páez. These alliances brought new manpower and tactical expertise to the revolutionary cause. Bolivar also adopted a more inclusive approach, incorporating Afro-Venezuelans, indigenous fighters, and former slaves into his army. However, Bolivar struggled with growing dissent among regional leaders in Venezuela and New Granada. Many of these leaders, including Manuel Piar, resisted Bolivar's centralized leadership and sought to carve out independent spheres of power. Quick question. Do you consider yourself a creative person? Are you interested in building projects on the weekends? Or is it a way of life? Either way, I would like to introduce you to Ted's Woodworking. With this, you get access to 16,000 easy-to-follow woodworking plans. Nothing will be left to guesswork. You don't need a big workspace or expensive tools to get started. Whether you're an advanced craftsman or a complete beginner, these plans are perfect for any skill level. If that's something you would be interested in, I have a link where you can learn more in the description. Anyway, back to the video. In 1817, Piar's betrayal became evident when he attempted to incite rebellion against Bolivar's authority. Bolivar ordered PR's execution after a trial for treason, a decision that weighed heavily on him but was deemed necessary to maintain unity. One of the defining moments of the Middle Revolution was Bolivar's bold decision to launch a campaign into New Granada, modern-day Colombia. In 1819, he led his army on the audacious crossing of the Andes Mountains, a feat compared to Hannibal's crossing of the Alps. Facing freezing temperatures, treacherous paths, and high casualties, Bolivar's forces caught the Spanish completely off guard. This daring maneuver culminated in the Battle of Boyacá on August 7, 1819, a decisive victory that secured Bogotá and effectively liberated New Granada. This victory gave Bolivar access to vital resources, including troops and supplies, and marked the beginning of a turning tide in the revolution. During this period, Bolivar's political vision also began to take shape. In December 1819, he convened the Congress of Angostura, where he established the Republic of Gran Colombia, uniting Venezuela, New Granada, and Ecuador under a single government. Bolivar was named president, and the revolution transitioned from a fragmented rebellion into an organized campaign with a clear ideological foundation. The middle years of the revolution transformed Bolivar from a struggling rebel into a formidable statesman and military commander. His victories and alliances set the stage for the final push to liberate South America from Spanish rule. The final phase of Simón Bolivar's revolution, from 1820 to 1825, saw the culmination of his lifelong quest for South American independence. Following the liberation of New Granada, Bolivar turned his focus southward, continuing his campaign to free the remaining territories under Spanish control. In 1821, Bolivar achieved a landmark victory at the Battle of Carabobo, which secured Venezuela's independence. This was followed by the liberation of Quito, modern-day Ecuador, after the Battle of Pichincha in 1822, led by his trusted general Antonio José de Sucre. These victories marked the effective collapse of Spanish authority in northern South America. A critical moment came in 1822 when Bolivar met with José de San Martín, another key liberator, in Guayaquil, Ecuador. The two leaders discussed the future of South America, but their visions differed. San Martín favored constitutional monarchies, while Bolivar advocated for centralized republics. San Martín ultimately ceded leadership of the southern campaigns to Bolivar, who assumed command of the liberation of Peru. In 1824, Bolivar and Sucre decisively defeated the Spanish at the Battle of Junín and the Battle of Ayacucho, securing Peru's independence. The following year, the Republic of Bolivia, named in Bolivar's honor, was established, marking the symbolic conclusion of South America's wars of independence. By 1825, the Spanish Empire had effectively lost its grip on the continent. Bolivar's vision of a liberated South America had been realized, though not without challenges. His dream of a unified continent under Gran Colombia began to unravel due to political infighting, regionalism, and resistance to his authoritarian measures. However, perhaps the most personal betrayal came in 1828 when Bolivar survived an assassination attempt in Bogotá. The plot, known as the September Conspiracy, was orchestrated by political opponents, including some of Bolivar's former allies and close associates, who resented his growing power. Bolivar narrowly escaped thanks to the intervention of his mistress, Manuela Sáenz, who helped him evade the attackers. This event marked a turning point as Bolivar increasingly saw himself isolated and betrayed by those he had fought alongside. Despite his efforts, Gran Colombia began to collapse under the weight of regionalism and political infighting. Venezuela, under the leadership of José Antonio Páez, declared its independence from Gran Colombia in 1829, effectively dismantling Bolivar's dream of a united South America. Páez, once a trusted ally, turned against Bolivar's centralized vision, prioritizing Venezuelan autonomy. In the final years of his life, Simón Bolivar faced isolation, disillusionment, and declining health. After resigning from the presidency of Gran Colombia in 1830, Bolivar intended to leave South America for exile in Europe. However, he never made the journey. He retreated to the estate of Quinta de San Pedro Alejandrino near Santa Marta in modern-day Colombia. Suffering from tuberculosis and abandoned by many of his former allies, Bolivar reflected on his efforts, famously stating, "America is ungovernable. I have plowed the sea." On December 17, 1830, at the age of 47, Bolivar died, penniless and heartbroken, far from the triumphant legacy he envisioned. Simón Bolivar's life was one of extraordinary ambition, sacrifice, and resilience. From his early days as a young idealist to his transformation into the liberator, Bolivar dedicated himself to the monumental task of freeing an entire continent from colonial rule. Despite facing immense challenges, defeat, exile, betrayal, and the fragmentation of his dream for a united South America, he never wavered in his pursuit of independence. Though his final days were marked by despair, Bolivar's revolutionary achievements reshaped South America, securing his place as one of history's greatest liberators. His legacy lives on not only in the nations he helped to free, but also in the enduring ideals of liberty and self-determination that continue to inspire generations. Real quick, I just wanted to say that at the time of making this video, we are currently at 125 subscribers. I am truly grateful to each and every one of you. Let's all learn from history and apply those lessons to our day-to-day lives together. Until next time.